Good evening, everyone. This is a special premium public video forecast discussion. Normally, I don't do these in the evening, but considering the complexity of this storm and the issues surrounding it, and the environment and the data is still changing as of this hour. So, what I decided to do this afternoon was say, okay, I'm getting way too bogged down with model data and is creating model paralysis. And sometimes, as a meteorologist, what you have to do is take a step back and say, let's go back to the basics. Let's look at the observations and look what's evolving here. And let's make sure that the forecast that we have out is the best one possible going forward. That details the most significant impacts, not necessarily being perfect and having a perfect verification, but at the very least puts people in the best position possible for this upcoming storm. And the primary concern is tomorrow morning's rush hour. Now, as we look at the conditions right now in our observations, we have winds starting to come in from the north and northeast. We have rain starting to break out over central and southern New Jersey. Temperatures are in the 40s and in the mid 30s north and west of New York City. And our freezing line is up here towards the Catskills. So not exactly the coldest environment. And this is why I have been staying away from some of these extreme snowfall totals that we've been looking at, the mile guidance, and why I've been skeptical of going very aggressive with these snowfall totals. So when we take a look at the environment that we have here, let me just refresh this real fast with our weather tap data. The concern here is this feature right here. You see this intense precipitation here and the banding that is taking place here and the deformation zone that is evolving here. This is all lining up to head straight towards the I-95 corridor. And with that, you have this potential here, not so much to support 6, 7, 8 inches of snow in central New Jersey, like some model guys are suggesting, but to have a heavy precipitation event at the heart of rush hour, reducing visibility and creating slick roadways to overcome the warm boundary layer that is in place. So this right here is the main event right here. You're seeing precipitation starting to break out. You can see the representation of the polar jet stream with this polar front catching up to our storm. So the timing here is working out pretty good in that respect as far as the cold air coming in. That is working out pretty nicely here. And you can see here at 850 millibars, there's our 850 millibar low with the cold air already starting to wrap in. Very marginal polar air mass in place right now over the northern mid-Atlantic. Clearly above freezing over central and southern New Jersey. Just the freezing line at 850 millibars right around the New York City metro, really just to the north and west. And then you can see the heart of the polar air back here towards the western Great Lakes. So we have the environment set up where we have the 850 millibar low lined up with a gradient that's going to send this 850 millibar low towards the Delmarva Peninsula and then off the Jersey Shore. And by tomorrow morning, this low pressure system on all the model guidance suggests an intensification off the Jersey Shore. But we noticed some interesting observations that caused me to want to change and alter this forecast. Even still, right now, I don't expect 100% verification, but I like where I am right now in this. And this is what I'm looking at. In the upper level jet stream here, this is 250 millibars with this subtropical jet stream here. This is lining up pretty nicely here with this short wave, the polar short wave catching in. I like the interaction here, but because of the position of this upper level low here, it puts a cap on just how far north this strengthening can get because you have this convergence and confluence taking shape right here. This will help to enhance our high pressure system to the north of the storm, but it also cuts off the ability for precipitation to expand northward, which is why I made some of the adjustments I made in the forecast. That shows up pretty nicely here in the infrared satellite picture. There is our expansion. There's our deformation zone starting to organize, starting to intensify. Notice the colder cloud tops. You got your colder cloud tops here over the mid-Atlantic coast because of that divergence and diffluence. That's right here. See how the upper level winds are spreading out here? That's divergence and diffluence. That's showing up pretty nicely here. But take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. You see this cutoff here? You see how it's kind of this line that doesn't allow the moisture to push further north and get kicked out towards the Atlantic rather than driving up towards Maine? This is a sign of just how far north the precipitation gets and the best dynamics. This tells me that this feature here gets forced towards central Pennsylvania, then through New Jersey, through Long Island, and off the coast. Now, when you consider the strongest dynamics, then you also have to consider the coldest environment. So when we take a look at the setup here, the coldest environment, we'll go to the infrared satellite picture here. The coldest environment for this storm is basically right here, just north of Long Island, basically southern Connecticut, the Hudson River Valley, northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, northward. That's our coldest environment. The strongest lifting is southern Connecticut, Long Island, Hudson River Valley, central and northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, and just north of Philadelphia. So you know where the coldest environment is, you know where the strongest lifting is, where this feature is heading towards, and you also recognize what the surface conditions are, i.e., where our boundary layer is like. And so what we know is that we need a lot of cooling taking place here over central New Jersey. You need a lot of cooling to take place to overcome the warm environment that we're in. So you have to put all these factors together. And so when you take a look at the model guides, again, this is the European, and as far as the lifting associated for tomorrow morning, this is very, very similar to all the model guidance, including the mesoscale guidance here, showing up pretty much the same. And then there you see the the temperatures at the mid levels of the atmosphere tomorrow morning, and then the surface dynamics. Very, very marginal. Okay. So you don't want to use 10-to-1 ratios here in this. In the NAM model guidance on 18Z, there's our strong frontogenesis. Let me take a look at the 0Z. On the new 0Z, you can see that same frontogenesis showing up a little bit more broken up on this. So you're seeing the evolution here at 700 millibars. Let's pull up 850 millibars. Let's see the frontogenesis 850 millibars. And this is live as this is coming out. And there, that shows up even more nicely. There you could see that intense banding. So you could see where the banding's setting up here. Okay, the frontogenesis that would support rapid cooling, but you still have to overcome the boundary layer. So this is why I developed the forecast I have developed, okay, based on the changes I'm seeing. Notice to the north, I've cut down snowfall totals drastically. This might still not be enough, but I'm reducing down to 1 to 4 inches of light snow. In this environment up here, northern Connecticut, central Hudson River Valley, a lot of northeastern Pennsylvania, the snow will accumulate immediately, and you'll have a supportive environment for steady light accumulation. But I think a lot of these locations will be around an inch. Further south, again, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these locations are on the low end, around 4 inches, and then we push closer to that 8 inches. As you get very close, it's going to be a very tight gradient once we crash here. 8 to 12 inches. Most locations around that 8-inch mark. 12 inches, I think, is going to be hard to push, but considering the strong lifting involved here that we're seeing currently back here, I didn't want to leave anyone unprepared in case we get one of those intense snowfall rates. And in this environment here, this is where you're going to have the cross section of the coldest conditions and strong lifting to maximize your potential snowfall accumulation. Then the debate down here, 4 to 8 inches seems pretty reasonable around Allentown and Reading, where we have the precipitation coming in, the cold air's coming in. I would not be surprised in treated roadways if you reduce a lot of that snow accumulation, but still steady snowfall accumulation on cold surfaces. The New York City Metro. My concern with this storm is that at the heart of rush hour, you're going to have intense snowfall, reducing visibility below 2 miles, in some cases, zero visibility at the heart of rush hour, where you're going to have that snowfall. 4 to 8 inches, I think you'll see that in a lot of observation areas and a lot of locations where you report the snow, but on your roadways, you're going to have on treated roadways a lot of wet roadways. So your secondary roads are going to end up being icy, and in some cases snow covered. But on your main highways, I think you'll be okay. But your visibility from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. is going to be from 6 a.m. To 1 p.m. is going to be pretty rough. Down towards central New Jersey, this is again where I increased the snowfall totals, but I think a lot of this is going to be on cold surfaces. But on your roadways, you're going to have slick conditions. And again, the concern is at the morning rush hour, your visibility at times is going to be pretty low. Then as you go further south, again, this is where your surface temperatures are in the mid 30s, talking about 34, 35 degrees. You might see a trace of 2 inches on grass, but really the roadways will be fine. And then down towards Cape May, there's pretty much rain, but maybe some snow showers at the very end. So my reasoning in this forecast really comes down to this is where in these zones here, where I expect a cross section of the strongest lifting with the cold air coming in at the appropriate time, at just the right time. And my primary concern, if this was happening during the mid-afternoon hours, probably would not be as much of a significant event for a variety of reasons. But because this is happening at the heart of the rush hour, there is a significant concern here for significant impacts on travel conditions, while at the same time reducing the potential for snowfall accumulation and supporting snow accumulation in these areas. If this was happening in the heart of the day, in the early afternoon hours, I would not be surprised if a lot of these areas would have a very difficult time of reaching accumulation. But because this is happening in the early morning hours to start off with the cold air coming in, while this moves through, that's why we have this as a high impact storm for travel conditions. So that is my reasoning behind the latest forecast. I'll be doing updates throughout the morning tomorrow as we watch the storm evolve and have the latest updates. In the meantime, stay safe out there.